Daytona International Speedway. High banks, high speeds, and home to one of the most prestigious motorcycle road races in the world, the Daytona 200. From the sands of Daytona Beach to the awesome 33-degree walls of the Speedway, the lure of victory in the 200 has attracted some of the greatest riders in motorcycle history. Names like Roberts, Lawson, Spencer, Schwantz, and Rainey have all entered the record books here at Daytona. From world champions to rising stars, 1993 brings another exceptionally strong field to the Speedway. In clearly the most thrilling development of Bike Week 93, a living legend in two-wheeled motorsports has returned to Daytona to contest the 200 one more time. Four-time World Grand Prix champion Eddie Lawson was coaxed out of retirement by the promise of a fast ride on a lightning-quick Yamaha 750 and the chance to work again with longtime friend and Vance & Hines crew chief Steve Johnson. Though he made his international reputation aboard two-stroke GP bikes, Lawson is no stranger to superbikes or to the high banks of Daytona. The soft-spoken Californian was AMA Superbike champion in '81 and '82 and piloted a Yamaha FZ750 to victory here at the Speedway in 1986. But from the way his luck has gone so far this week, Daytona's renowned trial might as well be the Bermuda Triangle for Eddie Lawson and the Vance & Hines Yamahas. A succession of frustrating mechanical glitches during practice put Lawson at the bottom of the starting order for his 50-mile qualifying race. Undaunted, Lawson carved his way to the front of the pack in just 7 laps, only to have the team's sour luck return, forcing him to pit for a rear tire while leading the race. Lawson brought the Yamaha home in 3rd place, good enough to earn him 7th spot on the grid. But whether Steady Eddie can shake off the retirement cobwebs and Vance & Hines can get the gremlins out of the Yamaha remains to be seen. In any case, Lawson is clearly a favorite of the huge Daytona crowd. And you can bet that no one who knows him is counting the 4-time world champion out come race day. Reigning AMA Superbike champion Scott Russell, aboard the #1 Rob Muzzy Kawasaki, is gunning for his 2nd Daytona victory in as many years. Russell took the pole with a time of 1 minute 50.194, then underlined his intentions by crossing the line 22 seconds ahead of everyone in the first twin 50 qualifier. Heading into the weekend, Russell's principal competition was expected to come from this man, Doug Poland, on the number 23 Fastby Farachi Ducati. After capturing 2 consecutive World Superbike crowns, the Texas native returns to the United States in pursuit of the AMA's #1 plate. Poland won the season opener at Phoenix International Raceway and led the 2nd twin 50 qualifying race here at Daytona until tire problems forced him to pit. As a result, he'll start the 200 back in the 12th row. But you can bet he'll do whatever it takes to be at the front when this one is over. Among the other riders to watch is Miguel Duhamel on the number 17 Muzzy Kawasaki. Duhamel won the 200 in '91 and spent a season riding 500cc Grand Prix bikes in 1992. Thomas Stevens, AMA Superbike champion in '91, aboard a Vance & Hines Yamaha, will campaign the number 11 Yoshimura Suzuki here at Daytona. Last year's 600cc Supersport champion Tom Kipp, aboard the Commonwealth Honda RC30, DNF'd his heat race and will start the race from row 16. World Superbike contender Aaron Slight finished 4th in his qualifying race and will grid on row 2 in the feature. And keep an eye on reigning AMA Formula 2 chap, young Colin Edwards, aboard the number 45 Vance & Hines Yamaha. After a promising 4th place finish in his Superbike debut at Phoenix, Edwards appears to have encountered the same Daytona hex that has followed his temporary teammate Eddie Lawson all week. After engine trouble in time practice, Edwards DNF'd his twin 50 heat and will start his first Daytona 200 on row 16. The waiting is almost over. With only a few hours remaining before the green flag, most of the teams are down to last-minute adjustments. But not everyone is so fortunate. The number 7 bike of Eddie Lawson encountered engine trouble again in practice. After hurried deliberations, the team elected to replace Lawson's engine with the last of their spares, even though it was relatively untested. The team mechanics buttoned up the Yamaha just as the grid began to form for the 200. Tire selection looks like it could play a crucial role in today's outcome. Most of the teams plan to make 2 stops for tires and fuel during the 57-lap race. One important exception is Doug Poland, who will run a harder compound and try to complete the full 200 miles with only 1 stop. The strategy is clearly a gamble, But given his poor starting position and the absence of quick tire change capability on the Ducati, it's the only realistic chance he has of pulling out a victory. And these teams do not race to finish second. Over 60 riders are gridded for the 200-mile race. A large field that's bound to mean hard work for the leaders when they try to pick their way through traffic as the race progresses. The grid is cleared. The riders lean forward, weighting the front wheel to keep it near the ground as they bring up the revs. Drop the clutch and launch from the start at the green flag. Number 1, Scott Russell streaks down the inside and reaches the first turn alone at the front. Followed quickly by Smith, McCote, Roche, Slight, and Lawson. Russell would love to put this one away early, and he seems to have already opened a bit of a gap. Into turn 6. Aaron Slight, number 62, slices down the inside of Raymond Roche in a bid for second place. And there at the top of the picture is the number 23 Ducati of Doug Poland, up from row 12 and already reeling in the first wave. The field runs high on the west bank. On the back straight, Lawson's gotten by Roche and Slight and has Russell locked firmly in his sights. They head through the chicane for the first time and up onto the east banking. The order remains Russell, Lawson, Slight, and Roche, with the Hamel rounding out the top 5. World Superbike adversaries Raymond Roche and Aaron Slight go fairing to fairing in a fight for third place. As they move back into the infield, completed lap 1, Lawson has closed the gap with the leader, denying him any chance for an early breakaway. But there's a definite gap forming between the lead group and the rest of the field as they head out of the infield and back onto the high banks. Through the chicane for the second time and back onto the east banking. Lawson drops down low, challenging Russell for the lead, or maybe just testing the top end of the Muzzy Kawasaki. The wily veteran pulls his Vance & Hines Yamaha right up alongside the Works Kawasaki, taking a casual look back at the field. But Russell still leads into turn 1, with Slight and Roche close behind in 3rd and 4th position. They flick through the quick right-left transition in the infield and break hard for the International Horseshoe. Smooth as ever, Lawson's short retirement doesn't seem to have affected him a bit. They're back on the gas for the short infield straight. And there's the yellow Commonwealth Honda of a disappointed Mike Smith, watching the race from the back of a pickup truck. Roche and Slight jockey for position at over 170 miles an hour as they head for the start-finish line. And Lawson tries to find a way around the outside of Russell on the approach to the infield. This time Lawson makes the move stick as he leads the race for the first time entering turn 1. Whoops, and a bobble by Slight puts him back into 4th place behind Roche. Back with the leaders. Lawson shows Russell the way through the infield, leaned over and rolling on the power as they exit the International Horseshoe. After more than 10 years of racing with the best the world has to offer, Eddie Lawson knows how to lead. He's done it all the way to 8 national and international championships. And here at Daytona, he's showing us again just how it's done. The lead group, headed by Lawson, has definitely broken away from the rest of the field. Lawson leads out of the chicane over Russell, up onto the high bank. Lawson leads Russell, followed by Roche and Slight. And there, de Hamel. Again, as they make their way through the infield, Russell closes right up on Lawson, coming close enough to reach out and touch the magenta and yellow Yamaha. Back in 6th and 7th, Akira Yanagawa, number 61, and Steve Crevier, number 14, have also managed to put some distance between themselves and the rest of the pack. On the east high banking, Crevier tries to go up on the inside of Yanagawa's Suzuki. They're side by side as they head for the stripe. But Crevier powers his way past to take over 6th place before breaking into turn 1. As they thread their way through the infield, Yanagawa is back in front of Crevier. Back with the leaders. The order remains the same. Ooh, the rear of Eddie's Yamaha slips as he accelerates over the seam that joins the infield to the high banks. That's a rough transition, and we can expect to see that happening all day. Unless someone is holding something back here, there doesn't seem to be much to choose between the Kawasaki and Lawson's Vance & Hines Yamaha at the top end. But I wouldn't put it past Lawson to keep a little in reserve for when it really counts. They come into the infield for lap 7 with Lawson still in the lead and begin to encounter back markers with a full 50 laps yet to run. Look for traffic to play a bigger role from here on out. Trying hard not to lose touch with Lawson, Russell has a big moment, breaking the rear end of his Kawasaki loose under fierce acceleration towards turn 4. Behind the leaders, Poland is methodically working his Ducati through the field and seems to be passing everything in sight. In less than 2 laps, he has moved from 15th position all the way up to 8th. The leaders cross the line to begin lap 8, and Lawson is coming up awfully fast on a back marker in turn 1. Russell sees the opening and sweeps around Lawson and the slower rider to retake the lead. Russell makes use of some more back markers and manages to pull out a slight lead. But the very next lap, the race is brought under full course caution because of a crash in turn 6. Back in the pack, Doug Poland has to be feeling a lot better about his chances right now. The caution plays right into his one pit stop strategy. He now lies 8th place inside of the lead. And these slow laps behind the pace car are bonus miles that are mighty easy on a sticky racing slick. If Poland can make the halfway point before he makes his first stop, he's got a good chance of winning. The race resumes on lap 12. The leaders rocket out of turn 6 and onto the west banking with a freight train of screaming superbikes in tow. Lawson pushes up the inside of Russell, showing the wheel as they power down the back straight and takes a short inside line to the chicane. But Russell heels the big Kawasaki over under late braking and swoops in ahead of the Yamaha. Thomas Stevens grabs a little too much throttle on his Yoshimura Suzuki and high sides off the chicane, sliding to a rough stop on the infield. In slow motion, we can see Stevens' rear wheel step out momentarily and then hook up again, spitting him off onto the tarmac. While Stevens' race comes to an end in a cloud of dust, the race at the front heats up as Lawson has taken the lead back for the second time. Duhamel has caught the front runners, and Lawson continues to lead a close race through the infield sections of the course. Oh my, it's very close. Back into turn 1, it's Lawson, Russell, and Duhamel. Oh, but Duhamel misses a gear and takes to the grass. Outrigging safely to a stop, he rejoins the fray behind Doug Poland, who now has his Ducati 888 up into 5th position. 40 laps remaining, and someone is already headed for the pits. It looks like it is number 1, Scott Russell. He's coming in for what seems to be an early stop for the Muzzy team. Lawson has set a blistering pace at the front, and the young Kawasaki rider appears to have overheated a tire, trying to keep him in sight. They're fueling the bike and installing a fresh rear tire. He's out of the pit in around 12 seconds. Will the early stop cause problems for Russell later in the race? Time will tell. Lawson's Yamaha now circulates alone at the front, a situation the 4-time world champion is not unaccustomed to. And he continues to press the pace well ahead of Yanagawa, Slight, Duhamel, and Poland. Slight is the next to head for the pit lane. He's followed one lap later by Duhamel. Lap 21, and Lawson brings the Yamaha into the Vance and Hines pit on schedule. The crew goes right to work. Like a well-oiled machine, every motion is calculated and choreographed to get the job done without wasting a second. Lawson takes on fuel and fresh rubber, and he's on his way with a very quick stop. With Lawson pitting, the lead now belongs to Doug Poland, whose tire gamble appears to be paying off. Canadian Superbike champion Steve Crevier, number 14, dices with the leader. But due to an earlier stop to repair a broken exhaust, the Canadian is really little more than a bit player here. Lap 24, still more than 4 laps short of the halfway point. Oh, and Poland's pointing at the rear tire of the Ducati as he goes by the Faraci pit. The one-stop strategy appears to be unraveling. Sure enough, Poland dives into the pits 1 lap later with a chunk rear tire. But without quick change capability, even a good stop will be too long for Doug Poland as Russell inherits the lead once again. Ooh, on an ominous note for the Vance and Hines Yamahas, word comes in that Colin Edwards, after clawing his way up to 9th position from the back of the grid, has pulled off the track in the chicane with a dead engine. It looks like Team Vance and Hines is down to 1 engine and 1 bike. The number 7 Yamaha of Eddie Lawson. Meanwhile, Lawson is making quick work of Tom Kipp and setting off in hot pursuit of Scott Russell in the lead. Oh, but Lawson is back into the pits before he can close the gap. The rear tire of the Yamaha has apparently gone off, forcing him to make an unscheduled pit stop and leaving Russell to pull away uncontested at the front. Quick work by the Vance and Hines pit crew returns Lawson to the race on lap 32 in 5th position, but well back of the lead. With 25 laps to go, Lawson has an uphill battle to the flag, and it's not at all clear that new tire is going to go the distance. But just a minute here, it looks like Russell's in the pits for an unscheduled stop. Is any lead safe until the checkered flag? I doubt it. With Lawson and Russell into the pits early, the battle between Slight and Duhamel over the 3rd position has just escalated to all-out warfare. Swapping back and forth, the 2 teammates are wrestling elbow to elbow for the top spot. No team orders at work here. Both of them smell victory, and neither is giving an inch. 18 laps remaining, and Duhamel and Slight are still tooth and nail. But Duhamel is hanging a leg out to show that he's coming in. Now this is probably a scheduled stop and should be his last of the day. Slight takes over the lead, but follows Duhamel into the pits a lap later, putting Russell back into the front. Lawson has cut the lead to under 4 seconds, and the pressure he's putting on the leader is beginning to show some effects. Russell is obviously pushing himself and his bike to the limit. With only 15 laps to go, his lead over Lawson and the Yamaha is under 3 seconds and falling by half a second each lap. Russell is working hard to put lap traffic between himself and Lawson at every turn. But Lawson is relentless, making it look easy as he slices through the field and continues to close on the leader. Only 12 laps remaining, and Lawson makes another bid for the lead. He motors by Russell at the stripe and clamps on the binders at the entrance to the infield. Whoa, and Lawson nearly collects a lapper in turn 1, but he holds on to the lead as they head down the short chute to the International Horseshoe. This is vintage Eddie Lawson, making his move and then pulling away on the banking. But Lawson tangles with slower traffic in the infield, allowing Russell to keep it close. Less than 10 laps to go, and it's still Lawson in the lead. The stage is set for an exciting run to the finish, but Lawson is turning down pit lane for the 3rd time. This is a devastating turn of events for the Vance and Hines team. Running in front with under 10 laps to go, and Lawson is forced back into the pits. Is it a mechanical problem, or has Eddie used up another rear tire? They're giving him a splash of gas and changing the rear tire. The team is working feverishly to get the Yamaha back on the track. Oh, and Eddie's shaking his head. He had the race won. Now he's got to do it all over again, and not nearly enough time. Lawson is out of the pits in only 12 seconds, and back in the race in second place. But the Yamaha's third stop has all but handed the victory to Scott Russell, who now enjoys a lead of at least 30 seconds with only 7 laps to go. After all the Vance and Hines team has been through this week, to bring the Yamaha home in second place would be nothing short of miraculous. But it doesn't look like Lawson is conceding anything. He immediately begins to chip away at Russell's lead. And unbelievable! Russell is headed for the pits too, and he is hot! He motions frantically to the back of his bike, indicating tire trouble. Lawson and Russell have been setting a scorching pace, and it looks like they're both paying the price in tire wear. Working feverishly, desperately. Russell is out of the pits in short order. The only question now is, where's Lawson? At the sound of the crowd, I'd say we have our answer. Right behind Scott Russell. With only 3 seconds separating him from the number 7 Yamaha, Russell's pushing that fresh rear tire awfully hard before it's properly scrubbed up and up to temperature. He sprints out of the West Horseshoe, shoots a glance backward, only to get an eye full of Eddie Lawson and the number 7 Yamaha bearing down on him. He's trying everything he knows to shake Lawson off his tail, but Lawson just keeps coming. It's got to be very frustrating. Russell's right at the limit and still losing ground. Lawson's experience is beginning to tell the tale here in the final laps. This is the smooth, decisive style that made a world champion of Eddie Lawson. He seems completely single-minded. It's almost as though he and Russell are the only 2 bikes on the track. Meanwhile, Russell flings his bike through every turn. Up onto the banking, where the Yamaha seems to have the measure of the Kawasaki. Lawson continues to press. If Russell has any cards left to play, he'll have to show them soon. The white flag is out, signifying the final lap. Jim Leonard and the Vance and Hines crew watch as Russell leads through turn 1 for the last time, with Lawson only a few bike lengths back, stalking him, looking for the slightest mistake, any opening that he can drive the Yamaha through to take the lead. I don't think it's any exaggeration to say that we're probably watching one of the greatest riders in the history of the sport here in Eddie Lawson. And from the way he's riding, I don't think that fact is lost on Scott Russell either. Russell approaches lap record speeds, turning a 150.9 in an effort to hold Lawson off. But the Yamaha rider counters, clicking off a fast lap of 150.5, steadily reeling in the Kawasaki. Russell is hanging his bike right over the ragged edge, trying to gain the advantage, and wheel standing through 2 riders before they accelerate onto the west bagging one more time. Eddie Lawson fights his way through heavy traffic. Up onto the high banking. Lawson tries to catch the draft. He pulls into Russell's slipstream. He's in perfect position to draft his way down the back straightaway. But can he? Again, Lawson drops inside, taking a look down the inside of Russell, but slows when he sees a back marker on the racing line at the chicane. Russell tries to squeeze by and almost collides. Oh my! Lawson holds his position through the chicane and waits for an opening as they head onto the tri-oval for the run to the flag. They split the slower rider in a dead heat. Lawson going high and Russell low. The powerful Yamaha pulls away from the Kawasaki as Lawson pins the throttle wide open. Russell slots into Lawson's draft. Can he pull off a replay of 92, drafting by at the last second as they head for the line? It's Lawson! Lawson by 2 or 3 bike lengths. Eddie Lawson has won the Daytona 200 in a last lap nail-biter. Oh, what a race! Easily one of the most exciting Daytona 200s ever. Lawson congratulates Russell on what has to be one of the toughest second-place finishes he'll probably ever earn. What an incredible race! And Lawson is ecstatic. In the hands of Eddie Lawson, Yamaha has just notched its 16th Daytona victory, moving into the top spot on the all-time winners list. As we take another look at the finish, we can see that the Vance and Hines Yamaha was just too much for Russell's Kawasaki down the stretch. But what a fantastic finish to a truly amazing race. The 52nd running of the Daytona 200. Well, lots of people come to Florida to retire, but I gotta tell you, no one does it quite like Eddie Lawson.
I look at my watch and I see it's the right time, so I take you the streets to be another kind. Oh, people, hurry, hurry, I can't be late, but I know that I'll be there at the right place, at the right time, at this time. When we can come there months apart, once it begins it can't be stopped. My telephone tone tells me I'm late. I know my friends are there at the right place, at the right time, at this time. I look at my watch and I see it's the right time, so I hit the streets to be a wild card. This is my last chance to get it straight. You can bet that I'll be there at the right place, at the right time, at this time, at the right place, at the right time, at this time.
I'll tell you, that bike was in a class of its own, and we had the equipment. Daytona, you need the horsepower, and we had the horsepower, so a lot of things going through your head, but when it started winding down, it looked like we had a shot at it. I just pinned it.